episode. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Third Hour of Power. This is Grady of This Mormon Life, and with me this week is my lovely wife, Christy, who I love so much that she's with me on a Saturday night recording a podcast. And honestly, I like doing it with her. Honey, we forgot.
What did you forget?
I was just thinking. So typically, when I have a guest on the show, we just kind of record and get going. Whenever I record with Chrissy, she makes me pray before we start, and I think that's such a cool thing. But I did spy her praying earlier on her own as she prepared for presenting this, and so will you do that? Did that count for both of us?
Yeah, I realized we started the last podcast last week that I totally forgot to have us say a prayer to.
Oh.
So hopefully it transfers over and that'll work.
Hopefully we'll still be inspired.
Hopefully, we're trying.
But this week we're talking about chapter 20 in the Ezra Taft Benson manual, which is Feed My Sheep. And, in this lesson, it's talking about basically reaching out to those who have gone astray, particularly when it comes to reactivation work and bringing people back to church that have fallen away from it.
The story he begins with is a really great story about they're in a state presidency and trying to figure out, they have elders quorum that's struggling and they're trying to figure out who to lead, and they looking at different names, and then they decide President Benson is inspired to ask someone who maybe they wouldn't have thought of before. Maybe he isn't living everything quite the way he should be at that time. So he decided to reach out to him.
Someone who wasn't even active at the time.
Yeah, I think he was kind of semi-active or so. And so he went ahead with the stake president's approval and went to the person's house and extended an invitation and just said, hey, just pray about it, think about it. I'll come back in a week. No pressure or anything. And what I loved he said at the bottom, says, and if you decide not to accept, we'll go on loving you. They were going to call him to be the elders quorum president. They needed a president. And I love that right there. They let him know off the bat that whatever you choose, we're going to love you either way. And how important that is. That's the most important part of Feed My Sheep and looking out for others is love. He came back the next week and he looked different. And he didn't smell the coffee he smelled before when he was there. And they seemed happier. And he said, yeah, I do. I want to help you. I want to accept this calling. And how it changed and blessed his life, the fact that he didn't think that he'd be considered for this kind of a job, and he decided to seize this opportunity to get his life back together and to make some changes. And what a blessing it was.
Yeah, in my head right now. So our family loves musicals, and we listen musicals so much. And we were cleaning the house today and listening to some, and one of the ones was from Sound of Music when Maria's singing about having confidence. That she's been given this hard assignment and this task. I have confidence in something.
Sunshine.
There we go. And she's just very, she's been given this assignment that's really hard. All these governances have all quit, and she's been given this assignment that is so hard, and she's scared about it, but she's got confidence because she's been trusted with this duty, and because of it, now she's got confidence in herself. And I think that that's one of the big things as we go and reach out to these people is when we give them assignments and when we trust them with things, it helps them feel confident that the Lord needs them. That, it's not something where we're coming back to visit you because we got numbers to meet or that we're trying to meet a quota or that this is our calling. But it's that, the Lord needs you here. The Lord wants you to be with us, and we need your help in this work that we're doing. There was a video about these youth that were going out, and they had a really hard time with the activation effort. Or I guess with activity in their quorum. And so they decided to just go out and visit as a quorum, and they would go to these young men's homes and they would visit with them, and they would say, we miss you, we need your help, we're going to go see someone else, will you come with us right now and go visit? And this video is wonderful because it's got this small quorum, and they start with a small little band of boys and young men. I mean, at this point they're young men to use their priesthood in this way to invite others to come to Christ and to serve him. They grab this young man, and then they go out and they use him to go visit others. And, they interview this young man, and they've been just about how he feels being used to do the Lord's work and how much of an impression that it makes in him. And the activation effort increased because they're able to have spiritual experiences and they remember what they're missing. President Benson, he talks about these men who have recently come back or or need to come back. And he says that my heart goes out to those men, heads of families. I don't believe that we have a greater challenge in the church today than to activate those men and bring them to the point where they can take their families to the house of the Lord and have open to them the richest blessings known to men and women in this world and in the world to come. And I think it's so important, the things that we do, is that we're not bringing people to church to have a good time. We're not bringing people to church because that's what we're supposed to do in our callings. We're bringing people to church so that they can make and keep covenants or renew covenants they've made that will lead them to exaltation and to be a family forever. And that's essential. That's God's work that he has for us.
He talks about, as we go to extend invitations, how important it is that we extend and renew our love and a heartfelt invitation to come back. And it says here he says, come back and feast at the table of the Lord and taste again the sweet and satisfying fruits of fellowship with the saints. He says this, and he admits that this is a great challenge. This is a really hard thing. But that if we exercise faith, energy, and commitment, that we can do this, that we can reach out to those. And I think it is important to have faith that this can happen, have faith in ourselves, and it's going to take energy and time, and I think it's also going to take a lot of love, and how important it is that we, again, show love, that maybe we pray and find out, okay, how can I reach out to these people? How can I reach out to the sister that I'm teaching? How can I reach out to these children in my primary class? How can I reach out to my neighbor or members of other faiths or people that aren't active anymore? How can we reach out and show them love? And like President Benson, love them regardless of whether they come back or not, but just give them love.
And I think that's such an important thing. You know, it's hard when a lot of times when you do love somebody and you put yourself out there, you invite them to come to church or you invite them to your home, or you want to come in and share something with them that's important to you, and they reject your message. And it's very hard to take it personally because you're sharing something that is so personal. When they reject the message, sometimes you feel a rejection of yourself. And it's so important that we don't have our hearts hurt when that happens, that we are buoyed up and that we remember the healing power of the atonement, and that we keep loving those who maybe are still having a trouble, maybe aren't quite ready yet to come back and receive those blessings.
He talks about the Good Shepherd, which is, a great symbol for that. It goes in a little bit more about how, especially in that day, people really understood how important it was to have a good shepherd versus a hireling. In our state conference last week, they talked about this story, and that was actually Grayson's favorite part of state conference was the parable of the Good Shepherd. And he knew the Good Shepherd was Christ, which was awesome. So that was really great. I think you wanted to talk more about that, didn't you, sweetheart?
I did, and I love that he basically tells us an analogy of what it's like for a shepherd and a sheep. And at night, they come down, they basically have a stone corral they put together. They put thorns along the top so that they can get some rest, and they'll be protected from ravenous wolves to come in and try and steal the sheep away. But sometimes the wolves are so hungry, they're so desperate, they'll brave the thorns, they'll brave whatever they have to go through to take these sheep. And when a wolf comes into the pen, there's very real danger. There's danger for the sheep, of course, but there's also danger for the shepherds. The danger that threatens the sheep is just as much a threat to the shepherd. Being a leader in the church or being someone who's a member of the church doesn't make you immune to hardship. It doesn't make you immune to temptation. And so he talks about basically the hireling, that when they're there among the sheep as basically getting work for pay, they're there just to get what they want to get out of it. I go and I do my home teaching because I want to check off that box because I don't want my home teaching supervisor to nag me, or I know I'm supposed to do it, so I'm just going to go do it. But when the time gets tough and the wolves come, the hireling runs and he takes care of only himself. Whereas the good shepherd stays. And even though it might be hard, he protects his flock because he loves them and he knows them by name. And I think it's such a good parallel to our lives, that sometimes it's easy for us to serve and sometimes it's hard. And are we just as willing to serve when it's hard? Are we just as willing to serve when we're tired? When we're the only one, it seems like, serving, do we keep doing it? And if we try to step aside because we've got more important things going on, when I say more important, I mean things that aren't really more important, but we think they're more important, like, skipping out on a meeting because it was Star Wars Battlefront beta last weekend. I didn't skip out on it, but I was very tempted to. But those things, we think they're important, but really, essentially, for the eternal things, they're not. But the Good Shepherd says, I want to be with my sheep, and I want to help them, and I want to protect them. And when we have that mindset, we'll stay with them. Sometimes we talked about earlier about how sometimes when you go out and you visit people and they don't want to come back. I was out, I call it batting cleanup for home teaching, and just going out and visiting people. And there was one person that...
Should you be saying that, sweetheart?
Sure, batting cleanup.
Oh, no, you should be going out there, sending loving invitations.
You'll see where it comes around.
Okay.
So someone opens the door, and they say, I'm not interested. And they shut the door in my face. I'm like, wait, no, we just want to home teach you. I'm not interested. Slam. And so I talked to the person next to me and go, all right, we'll count it. Now, that wasn't the right attitude to have. I'll tell you right now that I did not feel love for that person in that moment. I don't even know his name right now. It escapes me. And I'll tell you what, I was hurt by it.
You probably shouldn't share it over the podcast anyways.
I should share it over the podcast.
His name?
No, his name.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no, not his name. The experience. I doubt he listens.
That for sure.
But if he does listen, thank you. But, I felt that way. I felt like I didn't care about him. I'm like, you know what? Phooey on you. I got more important stuff to do. There's other people that will receive me. And that's not the right attitude to have. That's not what a good shepherd does. A good shepherd loves everyone, even those lambs that maybe they go out intentionally and they leave the safety of the corral and you have to go out after them. And you think, you dumb sheep, just stay here. It's safe. This is where you're going to find happiness. This is where the food is. This is where safety is. This is where you find peace.
And ultimately, the best example in this story is the Good Shepherd's Christ, and we're the dumb sheep. So
I'm often a dumb sheep.
So I really like that comparison about Christ and how he did give our life for us, like the true shepherd who would fight the wolves for us, that he, the same way, would do that. Thank you so much. You want to go to the next part?
Yeah, I want you to move this out.
Okay, sounds good. So yes, our Savior, how he did give his life for us, and how we should follow his example. It talks about here, the answer is found in prayerful shepherding and feeding the flock. In other words, personal watch care. And it says there must be real, heartfelt concern by a true and loving shepherd. Now, when I was thinking about visiting teaching, because I don't do visits the way you do, I just have girls that I visit teach, or women, I should say. Sometimes it's hard to have real helpful concern for someone when you don't know them. And so that's why it's so important that we visit and diligently visit and try to find out about our sisters. Who are they? And how can we learn to love them? And how can we help them? And I know that as we strive to learn more about them and have love for them and learn more about them, that we can be better shepherds, that we can be better about being inspired in different ways, that we can help and encourage them, that we can show more love for them, and it can seem, not just seem, because it is more genuine, as we reach out and try to love them. And how it's hard sometimes when you're doing those visits because you don't know that person. It's kind of hard to know somebody that you don't know. And so it's important that we do our responsibilities and that we take care of those that we visit teach. It talked about, it says, he urged all of us to renew emphasis to the effective priesthood home teaching and effective relief studies and teaching. They are inspired programs. And I was thinking about Grady's dad, whom I adore and love.
I love you too, Dad.
He was inactive for a long time. And he had a really great home teacher who came all the time. And I thought several times how I'm so thankful for that home teacher. I'm so thankful that he came and visited Glenn. I'm thankful that Glenn came back to church. And if it wasn't for that, then I wouldn't have this handsome, wonderful husband next to me. And how grateful I am that, and it was a long time. What was it, 15, 20 years? I don't know, maybe just 10 years, 5 years. How long did he home teach him? How long was he inactive?
We went to the temple when I was 11, and that was about the time that, maybe 9 years, Bishop Jerry Startup was our home teacher. And it was funny because it was one of those things where my grandpa was leaving the ward, moving out of the home. Our family was moving into the home. And my grandpa went up to the bishop at the time, Jerry Startup, and said, my son's moving into your ward. I want him to have the best home teacher you have, because if you don't, I will come back and haunt you.
You'll answer to me when you come to the next life.
That's right. You'll answer to me.
We don't haunt people. We wait for them to come.
Okay. You when you come to the other side, you'll answer to me. And
just so you know, if you know Grady's dad, he's very stoic and very lovely and wonderful, but a little bit firm. And
He's like Stoic from How to Train Your Dragon.
And I've heard that George Russell was even more so. He was even more. I think the stubbornness and those kind of things have diminished as it's gone through there. I don't know about Grayson; that might be a little different, but I would not want to trifle with those words by George Russell. And I loved him, and I think what a wonderful dad that he was going to make sure and tell his bishop that this is a really important thing, And it really, if you think about it, wouldn't we say that about everyone? There's someone, all their dads would want to say, "Hey, my child's important. Make sure you visit at home, teach them. Make sure you seek him out." And so he was really smart. Bishop Startup, he decided to assign himself to home teach your dad. And your mom would tell me how he's like, "Oh, I'm just in the neighborhood." She goes, "Well, we could see his car parked down the road," And he would come. But I mean, for 9 years, that is a long time.
And
to
he was
someone.
consistent. And I have memories of him coming and teaching my parents temple prep and giving me a blessing when I was sick. All these things that, just little images of him always in our home. I remember him coming and talking with me and my dad on the driveway with his little moped out front. All these little images of him being a part of my life and how grateful I am. And that was one of those things where he loved his sheep. He was a great bishop because he loved our family and he genuinely cared for us. It wasn't because he was afraid that George Russell was going to beat him up on the other side. It was that he loved us, and I felt that love. And even though I was a crazy kid, and sometimes I said things that weren't very nice, I didn't always know they weren't very nice, but my parents would tell me afterwards that I wasn't being very nice. And he still came, and he still loved me. And it was such a great thing to see him later on in life and to see the progress our family had made in the gospel. And I was really grateful. I was really grateful for him. And
I'm grateful for him, too.
And there are families like that you home teach and you visit teach or that you are called to serve. And that there are touches that only you can make. In the manual, it talks about 5 things that you can do to help to activate those who have fallen away, help them to be able to want to be part of the blessings that come. Because of a great home teacher, our family was sealed in the temple. And I was raised from then on in the church and able to see so many blessings in my life as a result of that. And so I have a big testimony of home teaching just because of that. But then as going out with my dad and going out and visiting, I have a testimony of it, that there are lives that need to be blessed, and Heavenly Father can't go to visit all of them. Well, He can, but He won't.
And again, if you listened last week, you know how important leadership is and how important it is to delegate, and the Lord knows that too, and that's why I think the program works so well, is we're able to look out for each other. It says that sometimes our prayers are answered by someone else. How's that go? What's that saying? Answered through someone else? Anyways, through a way, but I forget how the phrasing is.
Google
but how we can be that answer to someone's prayer by doing our vision teaching, by doing our home teaching. We can help someone who needs lifting and strengthening.
And I'm not just saying that because I'm in the Elders Quorum presidency. I think it's really important because Christy's not, and she's still talking about it. So I appreciate it.
It's true.
And and this is a great lesson. This is something that I think is desperately needed for us to be able to love others. It's been an interesting thing being here in East Valley, where I would say our activity rate is really high. We don't have a lot of inactive people. Everyone that I home teach is active, and it's been a different thing of having 2 families that are active from going from being in Southern California, where I have 4 families and 3 are inactive, and it's a different thing. And I think sometimes we get content. We think that all is well in Zion because we're really full in sacrament, and we forget those who aren't there. And it's important to us to reach out to them. And
how important is, like the list says, to nourish the good word and such. Did you want to read the list we heard? Share that one too.
I would love to read the list, but I won't because we're kind of going on time. But check it out on LDS.org. I have a quiz to see how many clicks it takes to get you from LDS.org to the lesson. I think right now I'm at 7 clicks, and so if you can beat 7 clicks to the lesson, post them, tell me how you got there, because I really want a faster way to find lessons. And then tell me more about what you're doing right now on your blog, honey.
Well, right now we are sharing Halloween costumes. It's our favorite time of the year. Our family dresses up in themed costumes. This year it's Return of the Jedi, and so I have a Luke and a Han tutorial on the blog with some cute boys, and some more coming this next week.
So are the other kids, are their costumes still like a public secret?
They are. We can't say what they are yet.
Okay, I won't say what they are.
But they're adorable.
They're so adorable.
You can't say adorable. That's going to give away a clue. You can't do that. Just check them out. It'll be good.
Ewoks. So until next week, We are so grateful you joined us. My name is Grady at This Woman Life, this-woman-life.com. And until next week, my wife is so mad at me when we bid you all